How's everybody doing? So I just got to Cleveland. I just got here yesterday. I just wanted to come out and see y'all. We working out every day. We got a purpose. We got something we trying to accomplish and achieve. But what inspires me to keep going, I would say knowing I got a lot of people watching me, knowing that I'm a positive influence to the youth. That's why I say what keeps me going. So like even coming here seeing y'all, it's not like I have to do anything. I choose to do it. I'm trying to bring Cleveland, of course, a Super Bowl. But that's on the field, of course. But off the field is, of course, making the city, like bringing more hope, bringing more positivity to it, and just having an avenue that we able to directly, communicate with the youth and whatever y'all questions or problems that, y'all going through.
This man grown is like prime Michael Jackson to the kids.
What's your favorite sport?
Football.
You do good grades?
Yeah.
All right, go read it. Come here. Drop me up, bro.
I want you to imagine something for a second. You are sitting in a classroom. The paint on the walls is peeling, the chairs are held together with hope and duct tape. Your teacher is trying her best with 40 kids and not enough textbooks, and every single day you walk into that building wondering, does any of this even matter? Will I ever be anything? That was me. That was my school. And today, I brought Shedeur Sanders there. And I was not prepared for what happened next. Before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome. I grew up in a neighborhood where the odds were stacked against you before you even picked up a pencil. My school didn't have a football field. We barely had a working cafeteria. But we had something. And I'll tell you what that was in a minute. But first, why Shedeur Sanders? Because out of every athlete I could have brought, out of every big name, every celebrity, every superstar, Shedeur is the one whose story speaks the loudest to kids who feel unseen. Think about it. This is a man who was supposed to be the #1 pick in the entire NFL draft. #1. Scouts loved him, his stats were unbelievable, he played with the kind of heart that made people stop and stare. And then, on national television, team after team passed on him, round after round, the whole world watching, his family watching, and he just stood there, tall, head up. He fell to the 5th round, pick 144, and instead of breaking down, instead of making excuses, he walked into Cleveland as a 5th-round nobody and turned it into something beautiful. That is the story I wanted my old classmates to hear. That is the story those kids needed. So let me take you back. I hadn't been to this school in years, and pulling up in that car, I felt something in my chest that I wasn't expecting. The building looked smaller than I remembered, but the feeling was the same. That mix of hunger and fear that comes with growing up and not knowing if you're going to make it. I walked through those same hallways, same floors, and I thought about my 3rd grade teacher who used to stay after school just to help me read. I thought about the kids who didn't make it out. I thought about all the dreams that died quietly in these classrooms because nobody told these children that they were worthy of something great. And then I heard the screaming. Because Shedeur Sanders just walked through the front door. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The reaction was electric. Kids were losing their minds. Teachers were crying. The principal, who has been at this school for over 2 decades, just grabbed my arm and said, "I never thought I'd see something like this here." And Shedeur? He didn't act like a celebrity. He didn't stand behind a barrier and wave. He walked straight into the crowd, got down on one knee to talk to a little boy in the front row, and just listened. That little boy told him his dad wasn't around, that he didn't know if he was good enough to play sports, that people told him he was too small, too poor, too something to make it. And Shedeur looked at that kid like he was the only person in the room. He said, and I'm not paraphrasing here, "Bro, that's exactly where I was, and look where I'm standing right now." I had to turn around. I'm not ashamed to say I cried. Here's what most people don't understand about Shedeur Sanders. Yes, his father is Deion Sanders, one of the greatest athletes who ever lived. But that name did not protect him. That name did not save his draft stock. If anything, it made people come for him harder. Anonymous coaches called him entitled. Executives tried to tear his reputation apart before he threw a single NFL pass. The whole system seemed to be working against him, and he still showed up. He went from being the most hyped quarterback prospect in years to sitting in a room watching 143 players get called before him. Can you imagine that? Your whole life you've been told you're great. Your stats prove it. Your work ethic proves it. And then the most important moment of your career becomes a public humiliation. But here's the thing about Shedeur that I think gets missed in all the noise. He never stopped believing in himself quietly. Even when the whole world got loud about why he wasn't good enough, he stayed still. He stayed focused. He asked his own father not to visit training camp because he needed to earn it on his own. No shortcuts, no famous last name, just him and the work. That is not entitlement. That is belief. And there is a massive difference. We spent over 2 hours at that school. Shedeur sat with the older kids, the teenagers who are right at that edge, that dangerous age where one decision can change everything, and he talked to them straight. No script, no PR handler whispering in his ear, just real conversation. He talked about the draft. He talked about watching his name not get called. He talked about sitting in that room with his family, feeling the weight of everyone's expectations, and choosing not to collapse. One girl raised her hand and asked him, "What do you do when people decide you're not worth it?" He was quiet for a second, and then he said, "You let them be wrong." The whole room went silent, and then it erupted. On the way out, one of the older teachers pulled me aside. She's been teaching here for 19 years. She's seen hundreds of kids pass through these halls, and she said something to me that I will never forget. She said, "These children have never had someone like him come here, someone who looks like them, someone who failed publicly and came back anyway. You have no idea what today will mean for some of these kids 10 years from now." And I stood there in my childhood school hallway, thinking about that third-grade version of me who didn't know if he was going to be anything, and I just felt grateful. Grateful that stories like Shedeur's exist. Grateful that sometimes the people who fall the farthest rise the loudest. If you were watching this and you feel like the world has already decided your worth, I need you to hear this clearly. The draft does not define you. The rejection does not define you. The people who counted you out, the rooms that passed on you, the opportunities that didn't come, none of that is the final word. Shedeur Sanders was told he wasn't a first-round player. He walked into Cleveland anyway, and he proved every single one of them wrong. Not with words, but with work. That is the energy I'm carrying, and I hope you carry it too. If this video meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it today. Not for the views, for them. I'll see you in the next one.